I've got Nanda with me today. I'll let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit about herself, and then we can dive in and start asking her some questions about her journey and life after Affinity as well. So, Nanda, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, and yeah, go for it.
Lovely. So I'm Nanda, and I am an anaesthetic practitioner. So I work at Great Ormond Street, doing sort of Monday to Friday, no weekends, thankfully. And I joined your program at the start of 23, I want to say. It's been a while now.
2023. Yeah,
Yeah,
2023. I just had a look before we started recording, we were trying to figure out sort of when we sort of like parted ways when you left the program, and it was the middle of March of 2024. So a good 15 months together. I feel like it was January 2023 that you reached out because it was around that New Year time, right?
yeah,
So a good 15 months working together. A lot was achieved in that time, and a lot of good habits and routines were built and instilled within you, right?
yeah.
Um, Going back to your work, you work at the NHS, anesthetics practitioner. What does work look like for you? Is it long hours? Is it demanding? Are you stuck behind a desk and things like that? Like, give me a bit of an idea about that.
Yeah, so when I used to do clinical work, that was sort of 10-hour shifts on your feet all day long. And then as you progress, you get a bit more desk work. So now I sort of start work around 7:30 to 5:30, and that's literally 10 hours of sitting. So yeah, it's a lot of sitting down now. And then obviously when you do have to stay, late finishes, getting home late, um, having time for lunch, it's high demand. So you get lunch when you get lunch, but trying to be sort of forcing yourself for lunch. Most people do anyway. So it's all right now. But I think before it was a bit difficult.
But still, a long 10-hour day with an early start, and I would say like a late-ish finish by the time you're home and things like that. Um, Probably the same as others. It could be getting to sort of around about 6:30, maybe pushing on 7
Yeah.
if there's delays and things like that. And I guess the point I'm still trying to make over here is that even though the work is demanding, days are long, you're still managing to do bits and pieces that are driving you towards your goal, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what it is that's your sort of, you leave home about 6 a.m., get home about 6:30, and then you still got to squeeze in your meal preps, your gym workouts, the rest of your walks, your steps. So, and then get to bed on time. I think those were my struggles definitely before I joined yourself. So that's also adding into the normal working day.
Yeah. And I think it's a big struggle for most people, right? Like when they see these sort of programs or when they hear about other people's journeys and the people are sort of like listing off like, yeah, you know what? I went to the gym, I prepped my food, I did my walking and things like that. As an outsider without really being in it, it can seem a little bit like, oh my God, how am I going to fit all of that in? Like how does it align right now? Was that a little bit of like how you felt prior to sort of starting as well? Like, oh my God, it seems like a lot. I've got no time for it type of thing.
Yeah, I definitely had that attitude is, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be even good at this or have the time. I don't have the time. It was a lot of how am I going to make the time? I'll be tired. But I thought, well, that's what you're there for.
Cool. Cool. So we got a little bit of a background. Um, Cast your mind back to January 2023. Why did you want to change? What was the reason for reaching out?
So mine's not going to be a sort of typical answer about, getting healthy and, I wanted more energy and all of that. That was all secondary to me. For me, it was an image thing. So my husband always goes to the gym. He was bulking, getting bigger. And I just felt like a bit of a lump, just like I'm not doing anything. And what I see in the mirror, I don't like. So that leads to not feeling confident. You got to choose your outfits. I had to think, oh, if we're going out, we're going to have an Indian, I better wear something stretchy, not just open my wardrobe and wear what I want. And that drove me to be, I need to do something about it. And while I was still going gym and exercising, I realized after so many classes and Zumba classes and boot, like no matter how much exercise I do, my food was letting me down. And you can read all you want on the internet, but I needed sort of someone to guide me, and that's what motivated me to reach out to you.
Awesome. I appreciate the honesty. I think a lot of people will appreciate your honesty there as well, because I think sometimes people hide behind the whole like I want to get healthier, I don't want to get any sort of diseases and things like that. And I always think it's secondary. I think for a lot of people, number one is you want to look good, you want to feel good, and I'm glad that you
Yeah.
just said that. Like, that's ultimately what it all boils down to. You want to look in the mirror, you want to throw on some clothes and not have to worry about how they fit. And you want to look good poolside for your partner, whatever it might be, right? So really,
Yeah.
really appreciate that. So for you, it was like I don't like what I'm seeing back in the mirror. Like clothes aren't fitting me. Don't really feel my most confident at the moment. You see your husband going into the gym and sort of like, training hard and getting the rewards for it. So you're like, I need to like up my game over here, sort of.
Yeah, and we still are a little bit competitive about it, but
Yeah.
it it sort of, I knew something was letting me down, and it wasn't the exercises or going to the gym or the rest of it. And don't get me wrong, the benefits of, the secondary ones, I'm healthier, I've got more energy, all that comes with it. So it wasn't like I was doing something for the wrong reasons. I still got a hell of a lot more out of it.
Absolutely. I think for the stage of life that you were in, the primary reason just to look and feel good was probably your main driving factor. Whereas, we work with other people who are at different stages in life, and for them, the most important thing is I don't want to rock up to the doctors and tell them them to tell me I've got something, or I need more energy to play with the kids and stuff like that. Whereas for you, where you were in your life, that was the thing that you needed. Um, Another interesting point that you make about it wasn't the exercise side of things, you came to realize that it was the food side of things that you needed the most help with. A lot of people don't come to that realization. I speak to people a lot of the time and they say like, "Oh, my problem is exercise. It's the fact that I don't exercise." Were you ever hiding behind exercise as being your problem, or were you quite quick to know that actually no, my issue is my food? Or were you someone that thought, "No, I need to work out harder and that's the only way that I'd get a result?"
Um, yeah, it was a bit of both. So sort of realizing, all right, I'm exercising. I can do 10 burpees, I can lift a bit of weights, I can do bicep curls. So what am I missing? But if you're feeding yourself crap, there's no way you're gonna lose the weight. I just stayed where I was or put on more weight. So it was kind of sort of process of elimination that I realized it's the food. I don't know what to eat. And my taste buds were closed off to a lot of stuff before I joined the program.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. Um, what was a day in the life like for you before? Like before starting the program, what did an average day look like for you? Talk to me about sort of from wake up to going to sleep, from food habits to activity habits. What did that look like for you?
Oh, it feels like a long time ago now. I mean, I would get up, you have your breakfast, which would be cereal. Some days I'm guilty of it, but it'd be Cocoa Pops most days or Weetabix. Lunch was touch and go, maybe sort of a fruit, chocolate bar, crisp, can of Coke. That was pretty much my lunch, unless I took leftovers. I would snack in between, and that would be biscuits, cakes, whatever was in the staff room. And then you come home and then it's eating about 5 or 6 rotis with God knows how much of the shark you have in your plate, followed by a packet of crisp again, maybe, or something sweet. And then you go to bed.
Awesome. Okay. I think a lot of people again can relate to that. That sounds like sort of a standard day of most people. So a lot of like winging it, seeing sort of what's been made at home, and then it's that sort of almost evening crash where it's just like, cool, in front of the TV, let me open up some snacks and things like that. So not the best nutritionally, essentially.
No. And I knew it was sort of, the later you stay up, you're going to snack more. You never knew what you were coming home to eat, like you said. So you don't really think, you just think at the time of when you're about to eat, not planning ahead. That was never a part of my routine.
Cool. Talk to us a little bit about your results. Where are you at now? And I guess I'll ask you about where you are at now, but sort of tell me where you were at the end of that 15-month stretch. So let's cast our minds back to March of this year. So what were your results like then? And then I'll ask we can talk about where you are now and like sort of how you've maintained over the last 6 months or so. But yeah, what were your results like at the end of the program? How did you feel? What had you achieved? Tell us sort of like kilos down, dress sizes, like whatever you can to articulate it for someone listening.
So when I started, I was 52 kilos, I think. And when we'd finished, we're down to 40, and then we were building the muscle up. So I have stayed exactly the same, if not a little bit more heavier, only because I'm noticing sort of the muscle, the shapes in my legs are shaping up. So that's definitely muscle gain. But maintenance, I mean, when I finished the program, it was tough not to have you around, but it was having that discipline of, yes, I got to stick to it. I can't undo my hard work, and I like the way I look. So that was motivating to keep on going. And now slowly I can see the weight's increasing, but I'm still shaping. So the muscle gain is coming. And of course, throughout my journey, I injured my wrist. So that ripped me off. So sometimes I do think maybe I could have been a bit more ahead, but I do recall during my injury, that was when I was the leanest because I couldn't go gym to lift weights. So I was walking loads and that shredded me completely. And then from there, maintaining that. I think, yeah, I'm still pleased with what I see in the mirror since leaving.
Awesome. Awesome. So by the sounds of it, what's been gained over the last few months has been muscle because you still visually look somewhat similar to where you were when you left.
Yeah.
The scales have slightly gone up, but it's probably muscle that has been gained, which is awesome. In terms of clothes and things like that, tell me a little bit about that. Was there any real changes in sizes of clothes and stuff?
Oh God, yes, nothing fits even now, in a good way. Nothing. I love saying nothing fits because I can't get into it. It's my clothes are too big for me, which is a nice feeling to have. I was probably heading towards a size 10, 12, and now I'm a 6, 8, depends
Depends on
what
where it's from.
what sort of your way, but that's I open my wardrobe and it's usually I hope this fits or I have to buy new clothes. Um, but yeah, wearing like crop tops, dresses, fitted ones, wearing Indian clothes, it just feels great still till this day.
Cool. What's a day in the life like now? So obviously you talked about before like winging it, no real plans and things like that. Um, I guess not what a day in the life is like now, but what was it like through the program, should I say? And is it similar still?
I think when you start anything new, it takes a getting used to, making sure you put your plans in. And, truth be told, it was so long at the start when you're never used to doing it. It was like, oh, Sunday, got to do it. But as, the weeks went on, you get yourself into a routine, you'll rinse and repeat. I was just rinsing and repeating because it made my life easier and I was getting results. So now I rarely use my fitness pal now because I still
Yeah.
rinse and repeat. So I know, you soon learn, that's 2 spoonfuls or 1 spoonful, and I don't really have to think about it. And I still hit the gym 3 times a week. If not, then I do Pilates now, the reformer Pilates. So great for toning up. But just trying new stuff, even foods has completely changed. I know in 2 weeks I'm going out and I'm having this, so I will just mentally be able to plan my day without thinking about it. So it's,
Subconsciously, you're doing it
yeah,
subconsciously now
I've
almost like you
got
kind
new
of,
habits.
yeah,
I've learned new habits.
cool. So you're pushing and pulling in the right places by the sounds of it. If you know you've got something coming up, you'll naturally like subconsciously make sure that on the lead up to it, you aren't re eating the wrong things or too much of things, saving yourself for that event and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have to, it's weird to think a year ago, I was like, Nick, I'm going out. What do I eat? What do I do? What shall I do in the morning? And now it's like, oh no, I know exactly what I'm doing. And I don't feel guilty about it. So if there is something on and you're eating out, you don't have to think about, oh, how much is this? How many calories is this? How unhealthy? Because if I'm maintaining, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I just eat.
100%. So a lot of the work that we did as well when you were going out, like I would make a point as well. Like, of course, there were some restaurants where I'd say, like, hey, like, look at the calorie information if it's available to you. But if you cast your mind back a little bit, it's all around behaviors as well. A lot of the things that I would sort of coach you on would be like, look, when you rock up there, don't go for seconds, take a smaller helping of things. Like, you still get to try everything, but all of this is prepping you for like long-term maintenance. So you have those habits built now where you're
Yeah.
not going to go into an event and overeat because you've trained yourself almost to only take one plate of food and not go back for seconds and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why you're maintaining so successfully, which is really, really cool.
Yeah. So it's easier now.
100%. 100%. What was your aha moment? What was the moment that you're like, wow, this is game changer? Essentially, like your biggest learning throughout the process.
I think it was when I realized how unhealthy I've been eating, and the amount of calories, someone can put away. It's it's so invisible, you just don't know what you're putting away. So for me, it was learning about foods, what's the right ones. I mean, I still look at farfar and think you're empty calories. I like every time I see farfar, I'm like, you're empty calories, you're not worth it. But it's the new habits that were driven into me on the program and getting used to them. So for me, it was definitely knowing what to eat.
You know, you mentioned that at the start it was like some bits were like really, really long, but like then after a while you got used to it and it wasn't. Could you dive into that? So like what did you find like what was there friction with to start with and how did you overcome it?
I think it was sort of, as in, I didn't try new foods. I stuck to anything with tomato sauce, cheese, and carbs. I rarely ever had anything new or exotic. So it was hard when you're putting your meals in. Oh, what do I put? What do I put? How many calories is that? And how many calories is that? But then when you get used to repeating it, it was almost like, all right, yeah, this was taking seconds, a few months down the line. It was just getting used to it. And I think most people starting anything new, there is a bit of hesitant. How's this going to go? Will I be able to do it? But once you get into it, you dive in, it just comes naturally. And I was then just repeating my weeks and just rotating my foods. So I didn't really have to think about it. And then I started trying new things. And then it became harder because I was like, oh, I like everything now. Now what do I eat or what do I put in? But I still, keep that consistency of the same sort of foods throughout the week and then rinse and repeat. It makes life easier. So it
100%.
gets easier with time. Once you get,
Most people most people naturally do that as well. Yeah, like the rinse and repeat is like something that most families will do again subconsciously without realizing it. Like the chances of people having like a different meal every single day are very, very slim, and the same sort of family favorites make their reappearance every now and again. So it's just like working with those
yeah.
essentially.
And I think I
Uh,
realized quite quickly was, oh, we eat the same thing. So I realized Thursdays were pasta days and Tuesdays were sort of rice and a dal days. And you just knew it was predictable, what was coming up. So just putting it straight in because Thursdays are pasta days.
are they? Okay. So pasta days now work. You've got that set in, and it's you rinse and repeat it, which is yeah, exactly. So now your family knows it's, or now that you plan it as a family, it's there, it's done, and that's what I mean. Like people don't change it up, people don't mix it up, which is really, really good. Going back to the time thing, um, obviously before coming into the program, before starting this, it was like, oh my God, where am I going to find the time for it? Was it as time consuming as you thought it would be?
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. Some days when you've had a long day at work and you still gotta go gym and it's dark and it's cold, you know, it, it's being consistent and not making excuses up. So part and everyone I think has those days here and there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But otherwise, no, it was fine. I did before started doing it think, oh, I don't have the energy for it. I can't be asked. Oh, I'll just skip it. There was no routine. There was no consistency. It was kind of when and as I wanted to go. Um, but you then learn, no, it's because you've been eating so much crap. You feel like crap. No wonder you have no energy and you can't get to the gym. But when I started eating right, yeah, more energy, loads like of energy even after the day's finished at the gym. So then I started realizing maybe because of my food, I don't have the energy.
Awesome. Um, what is what was the question I wanted to ask? I wanted to ask, what are the three biggest learnings, or sorry, what are the three tips that you would give to someone who's going through a process like this or thinking of going through a process like this, but is struggling, demotivated, or not quite there? Like, what worked for you?
I think motivation is just something that comes. Like for me, my motivation of joining the program was seeing my husband get fitter and, getting into shape. But if he wasn't doing that, then what I'm now wondering what would have been my motivation. So I would say be consistent. I think once you form a routine, a habit, and you stick to it, just consistency comes, motivation is afterwards. So it's hard to keep yourself motivated, but if you keep consistent, then motivation comes easier.
100%. Um, final thing, final thing. What did you do in times of demotivation? Because we faced a lot of hurdles throughout the process. One of the biggest ones, obviously, being that you fractured like some bones in your wrist, right? And that meant that lifting certain things was out of the question. But we got through it and we still managed to get a great result. You were still able to train and you made do with what you had and what you had available to you. Um, how did you get through these the periods of like adversity and where the motivation was low and things like that? Like, what did you do to keep yourself going?
I'd say credit to you. You were the biggest sort of my champion of, keep going, we can work around it. Because I thought, oh, great, hand surgery. All I can do is walk. Even if that, I can't do gym. But I think it came at the best time it could have because I had guidance from you. And that was the period where I lost a lot of weight, a lot of my fat during that period. But I
Yeah, I
learned,
think it could have gone one of two ways, because I think other people in that situation would have probably like sacked it off if they were doing this by themselves, and that would have been an intense period of weight gain for most people, right? But actually you lost a bunch of weight, which is awesome.
yeah, and also because I wasn't moving so much and you're on so much pain relief, you're kind of always sleepy. It was working out, let's cut down to 2 meals, let's get 10,000 steps in. And just by doing that, just being tailored to this is what your days are going to look like now helped so much. I think if I hadn't, I probably would have just been like, whatever happens, I can't be asked, can't be bothered. But that's when I really learned quite quickly that gym isn't the only thing and the only way I was going to maintain and keep working on the program. We made it work and it worked. And I'm possibly due another surgery again, but now I know exactly what I'll be doing through recovery period.
100%. We can do a lot of one-handed things, leg
Yeah.
work, ab work, so it will work. It will definitely work out. Um, Perfect. That is literally everything that I wanted to ask you. Some great insights. We've got your results. We know where you were at before, where you are now, things that you did to keep yourself on track. Is there any parting words, statements, or anything that you want to cover that I haven't?
um, I think And I think a lot of your other members on the hot seat have said this too, is the first time I ever reached out to you was a year before I actually joined. And I kind of thought, nah, this isn't for me. And then when I started seeing obviously your posts and a lot of my family were with you and some of my family members have really bad habits. And I just thought if they can do it, then I can do it. It was also seeing your members get results. And then, as everyone probably tells you, Nick, I should have joined sooner. Um, And I wish I had did, because after we finished the program, I got diagnosed with ADHD. And it's not a lot of people don't talk about it, but when you start reading into it and educating yourself as an adult who has ADHD, you realize like the sugar, the food, the caffeine, everything you put in your body just made me more wild than I needed to be. Um, but the program helped. So now I know, okay, I've really got to cut back on that sugar. And it just saves like having to take another bit of medicine. Just the foods massively help. So it's if people are thinking about it, just give it a go. I mean, you either lose some weight or you lose so much weight, and it's you've got nothing to lose really.
Apart from the weight, right?
Yeah, yes, that.
Um, awesome. Okay, so the program actually indirectly helped you with an ADHD diagnosis, which you didn't know you had at the time, but now you found out that you had. Was part of like helping you with it as well, sort of the routine building, the structure and things like that? Because I can imagine with someone with ADHD, things are sort of like in your mind, like scattered, right? From what I understand of it, from the little that I understand about it, everything is all over the place almost sometimes. So did that structure of knowing your meals going into the week and into the day, training times and things like that also help with your brain, I suppose?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's sort of, being really impulsive and, you've got like table full of cakes and all you want to do is just, oh my God, sugar, sugar, sugar. I want to eat it. But it was, and I think that's why I look back and think maybe I struggled with having to do the homework, having to put the work in, but when I got used to it, I created habit, structure, organization, and it's, yeah, definitely helped all areas of my life actually. So it's almost you learn a new set of skills, or they become more obvious that you had them and you just use them more. So it's not only this, these are all the secondary things that I've benefited from.
Yes. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Thank you. Thank you for coming on at short notice and sharing the insights into your transformation. It's been amazing.